The plasma cannon's distinctive whine cut through the morning air of Kepler. 442b, like a tuning fork struck against crystal. Commander Zexteraz's four eyes swiveled independently, tracking the projectile's arc as it sailed over the defensive perimeter of Firebase Echo 7. The hegemony forces had found them again. All units maintained defensive positions. Zextera broadcast through the neural link, her thoughts rippling across the minds of the Galactic Liberation Front soldiers hunkered down in their fortified positions. The GLF was a ragtag alliance of 12 species, united only by their shared hatred of hegemony's iron grip on the outer rim worlds. Beside her in the command bunker, Lieutenant Korthak of the Zentorian Corps nervously clicked his mandibles. His people were warriors, but even they knew the value of proper defensive positioning. Commander, long-range sensors detect a full hegemony battalion approaching from the North Ridge. We should consider tactical withdrawal. Zextera's primary eyes focused on the holographic display, while her secondary pair monitored the human, contingent 50 meters to their left. The humans were the newest addition to the GLF, a strange bipedal species from a world they called Earth. They had arrived 3 standard months ago with outdated weapons, primitive armor, and a disturbing tendency to smile when discussing combat. The hegemony plasma round struck the eastern wall of the firebase with a sound like thunder breaking. Chunks of ferrocrete and twisted metal rained down across the compound. Zextera felt a familiar tightening in her chest, the biological response all civilized species shared when faced with mortal danger. Time to fall back to secondary positions. But something was wrong. Through the settling dust and smoke, she watched in growing horror as the humans began moving, not back toward the evacuation routes, not down into the reinforced bunkers. They were running forward, toward the breach, toward the gunfire. What are they doing? Korthak's voice cracked with disbelief. Sergeant Marcus Chun of the 3rd Earth Expeditionary Force vaulted over a pile of debris, his assault rifle chattering as he laid down covering fire. Behind him, 3 other humans followed in a loose formation, their faces set with grim determination. One of them, a medic named Rodriguez, was shouting something in their primitive language. Man down in Sector 7. Another explosion rocked the compound as a second plasma round punched through the western wall. Zextera watched, transfixed, as more humans emerged from cover. They weren't fleeing the destruction. They were racing toward it. Private Sarah Mitchell, barely out of her species' adolescence, sprinted across open ground under heavy fire. Superheated plasma bolts sizzled past her head, close enough to singe her hair, but she never slowed. She dove behind an overturned hover truck, just as a third explosion sent shrapnel whistling through the air where she'd been standing. Covering fire. Chen's voice carried over the din of battle. We got wounded in the eastern sector. The logic centers of Zextera's brain simply couldn't process what she was witnessing. Every instinct honed by millions of years of evolution, every tactical doctrine learned in decades of warfare, every rational thought screamed that this was wrong. When predators attacked, prey animals ran away. When explosions detonated, sane beings sought shelter. When bullets flew, intelligent species took cover. Humans ran toward the guns. Captain Emma Vasquez appeared at the edge of the blast crater, her armor scorched and her left arm hanging at an odd angle. She was dragging another soldier. Zextera's translator implant identified him as Corporal Williams, away from the smoking rubble. Plasma fire from the approaching hegemony forces bracketed their position, but Vasquez never hesitated. She hauled Williams toward the aid station with single-minded determination. Rodriguez, get your ass over here, she shouted. Williams took shrapnel to the chest. The medic named Rodriguez broke from cover without hesitation, his aid bag bouncing against his hip as he sprinted across 20 meters of open ground. A hegemony sniper's beam burned the air inches from his head. He didn't even flinch. Zextera found her voice. Human Commander, she said, activating the communication link to Captain Vasquez. Your soldiers are advancing into direct fire. This is tactically unsound. Order them to fall back to defensive positions. Vasquez's reply came through gritted teeth as she helped Rodriguez stabilize Williams. With respect, Commander, we've got people down. We don't leave our people behind. But the hegemony forces can go to hell. Vasquez keyed a radio. All Eagle units, converge on the breach. We hold this line. The next few minutes unfolded like a fever dream as hegemony shock troops poured through the gaps in Firebase Echo 7's walls. The human soldiers did something that defied every military doctrine Zextera had ever studied. They charged, not in an organized assault formation, not behind heavy armor or artillery support. They simply ran forward, their primitive kinetic weapons blazing, directly into the teeth of advanced plasma weaponry and particle beam arrays. Sergeant Chen led a squad of 6 humans in a frontal assault on a hegemony heavy weapons position. The enemy's plasma cannon had been systematically dismantling the Firebase's defenses, its superheated bolts turning reinforced walls into molten slag. Any sane military force would have called an orbital bombardment or deployed siege mechs. Chen's solution was more direct. He and his squad sprinted across open ground, using nothing but smoke grenades and covering fire to mask their approach. Zextera watched through her scope as a plasma bolt missed Chun by centimeters, the heat wash turning the ground behind him to glass. He never slowed down. The humans reached the hegemony position and engaged in close combat with weapons that belonged in a museum. Their chemical propellant firearms cracked and barked, while the enemy's energy weapons hummed and sizzled. By every tactical analysis, the humans should have been slaughtered. Instead, they overran the position in less than 2 minutes. Impossible, Korthak whispered. The humans have inferior weapons, no armor enhancement, no tactical coordination. How did they? His question was answered by another impossible sight. A single human, Private Mitchell, the young female, had somehow flanked a hegemony patrol and was engaging 3 enemy soldiers simultaneously. She moved like liquid lightning, rolling behind cover as particle beams scorched the air above her, then popping up to return fire with mechanical precision. One of the hegemony soldiers fell. Then another, the third, tried to retreat, but Mitchell pursued him across open ground, her rifle chattering in short, controlled bursts. Zextera's tactical computer was displaying information that made no sense. Human heart rates were spiking to levels that should have caused cardiac arrest. Their brain activity showed patterns consistent with combat stimulation, but magnified beyond anything in her database. And their movement patterns, they weren't taking cover. They weren't seeking the safest positions or planning retreat routes. They were aggressively advancing into the most dangerous areas of the battlefield, drawn like magnetic particles to wherever the fighting was thickest. Commander! Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm as he worked on another wounded soldier. We need immediate dust-off for critical casualties. I got 3 Kia and 7 wounded. Before Zextera could respond, she watched Rodriguez make a decision that crystallized everything she'd been struggling to understand. A hegemony mortar round had landed in the center of the compound, creating a crater 20 meters across. Somewhere in that smoking hole, she could hear human voices calling for help. Rodriguez grabbed his medical bag and ran straight toward the crater, not around it, seeking cover, not waiting for the all-clear from his commander. He ran directly toward the site of the explosion, where unexploded ordnance might detonate at any second, where enemy fire was converging, where any rational being would assume only death waited. And he wasn't alone. Sergeant Chin appeared from the left, his squad laying down suppressing fire. Private Mitchell bounded over debris piles from the right. Captain Vasquez, still dragging her wounded arm, coordinated the rescue from the crater's edge. They were all running toward the gunfire, every single one of them. My God, Zextera breathed, using a human expression she learned from their cultural database. They're not retreating. They're not even holding position. They're attacking into enemy fire to save their wounded. The realization hit her like a physical blow. The humans weren't just fighting the hegemony forces. They were hunting them. Every explosion, every burst of enemy fire, every tactical setback that would send normal troops scrambling for cover was acting like a beacon, drawing the humans forward like predators closing in on wounded prey. Through her scope, she watched Private Mitchell corner another hegemony soldier in a section of collapsed wall. The enemy was bigger, better armed, and protected by advanced combat armor. Mitchell was bleeding from a head wound and carrying a rifle that was at least 50 years obsolete by galactic standards. She never hesitated. She vaulted over the rubble and engaged the enemy at point-blank range. The firefight lasted exactly 4 seconds. When the smoke cleared, Mitchell was standing over the fallen hegemony soldier, already scanning for her next target. Zextara keyed her general communications array, broadcasting to every GLF commander in the sector. All units, this is Firebase Echo 7 Actual. Immediate tactical assessment update. Human combat behavior exhibits extreme anomalous patterns. They appear to be attracted to enemy fire. Recommend immediate study of human tactical doctrine. The response came from General Frexnall, the GLF Supreme Commander, his mental voice carrying undertones of disbelief. Confirm your last transmission, Echo 7. Did you say the humans are attracted to enemy fire? Before Zextara could respond, the tide of battle shifted decisively. The hegemony forces, despite their superior numbers and equipment, began falling back from the firebase perimeter. It wasn't an organized tactical withdrawal. It was something approaching panic. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had turned a defensive engagement into an aggressive assault, using nothing but primitive weapons and what could only be described as controlled insanity. Captain Vasquez appeared in the command bunker, her uniform torn and blackened with smoke. Blood ran down her face from a scalp wound, but her eyes were alert and focused. Commander Zextara, we secured the perimeter. Enemy forces are in full retreat, requesting permission to pursue. Pursue? Zextara's four eyes blinked in asynchronous confusion. Captain, your forces have taken severe casualties. Standard doctrine would be to consolidate position and, ma'am, with respect, we don't consolidate when the enemy's running. Vasquez gestured toward the firebase walls, where human soldiers were already organizing pursuit teams. They came here to kill us. Now they're retreating. We finished what they started. Zextara watched through the command center's external cameras as the human soldiers prepared for pursuit. They moved with mechanical efficiency, checking weapons, redistributing ammunition, tending to wounded comrades. But there was something else in their movements, an eagerness that bordered on hunger. They wanted to continue the fight, not because they had to, not because tactical doctrine demanded it. They wanted to chase the enemy across hostile terrain and engage in more combat. Captain, Zextara said carefully, your species' approach to warfare is unique. Vasquez smiled, an expression that Zextara was beginning to recognize as distinctly predatory. Commander, where we come from, when someone shoots at you, you shoot back, and you keep shooting until they stop shooting or they can't shoot anymore. She paused at the bunker entrance, looking back at Zextara with those strange binocular eyes that seemed to focus with laser intensity. We're not like other species. We don't run from gunfire. We run toward it. Someone needs help, we go get them. Someone shooting at us, we shoot back harder. That's just how humans work. As Vasquez departed to organize the pursuit, Zextara found herself staring at the tactical display with new understanding. The humans weren't just unusual soldiers. They were something entirely outside the normal parameters of galactic warfare. Most species fought when cornered, defended when attacked, retreated when overwhelmed. Humans seemed to operate on the opposite principle. They advanced when attacked, charged when outnumbered, and became more aggressive as the danger increased. It was insane. It was tactically unsound. It violated every principle of evolutionary biology and military science. And it was working. Through the firebase's external sensors, she watched the human pursuit teams disappear into the rocky terrain beyond the perimeter, chasing an enemy force twice their size with equipment that outclassed them in every measurable way. Lieutenant Korthak joined her at the tactical display, his mandibles clicking nervously. Commander, should we not be supporting the human advance? They are pursuing superior forces with minimal backup. Zextara continued staring at the display, her mind struggling to process what she'd witnessed. Lieutenant, I have served in 43 combat engagements across 17 different worlds. I have commanded forces from 9 different species, each with their own tactical doctrines and combat philosophies. She turned to face him, her 4 eyes reflecting the harsh light of the tactical display. Never, in all my experience, Have I encountered a species that becomes more aggressive as the situation becomes more dangerous? The humans don't just fight, they hunt. And when they're wounded, when they're outnumbered, when the odds are impossible, another explosion echoed from beyond the fire-based perimeter, followed by the distinctive crack of human kinetic weapons. They get excited about it. 6 hours after the initial assault on Firebase Echo 7, Zextera received a communication that fundamentally changed her understanding of human warfare. Echo 7 Actual, this is Eagle 6. Captain Vasquez's voice crackled to the comm system. We've engaged the enemy at grid reference 77 Alpha. They've fortified positions on the high ground, approximately 200 hostiles with heavy weapon support. Zextera consulted her tactical display. The humans had pursued the retreating hegemony forces through 12 kilometers of hostile terrain, moving faster than any reasonable military force should attempt. The enemy had taken up positions in a narrow canyon that was essentially a kill zone, high walls on both sides, limited cover, and overlapping fields of fire from elevated positions. Eagle 6, recommend immediate withdrawal to defensible position. Enemy has clear tactical advantage. The pause that followed lasted long enough for Zextera to wonder if the communication link had failed. When Vasquez finally responded, there was something in her voice that Zextera was learning to recognize as uniquely human, a combination of grim determination and what could only be described as anticipation. Negative, Echo 7. We're going up. Up. Zextera's translator matrix struggled with the context. Captain, clarify your intended movement. The enemy thinks they have the high ground advantage. We're going to climb the canyon walls and take their positions from above. Zextera felt her respiratory system stutter. Captain, that canyon is 60 meters high with near-vertical walls. Your species lacks natural climbing adaptations. Attempting vertical assault without proper equipment would be challenging. Vasquez interrupted. Rodriguez, shouldn't you copy the plan? 2 human voices responded immediately. Roger that, Captain. Copy, Eagle 6. Moving to assault positions. Zextera activated the long-range surveillance drones, desperate to understand what she was about to witness. The tactical situation was clearly impossible. The humans numbered 37 soldiers against an estimated 200 hegemony forces. The enemy held elevated positions with overlapping fields of fire. The terrain provided no cover for an advancing force. Any sane military commander would call for orbital bombardment, siege artillery, or simply withdraw to fight another day when the odds were more favorable. The humans began to climb, not with specialized equipment or mechanized assistance. They used climbing techniques that appeared to be improvised on the spot, driving metal spikes into rock faces, creating rope anchors from salvage equipment, forming human chains to help each other reach handholds. Insane, Lieutenant Korthak muttered, watching the drone feeds. They're attempting a vertical assault on a fortified position. The enemy will simply concentrate fire on the canyon walls, and his words were cut off by the sound of human kinetic weapons opening fire from impossible positions. Somehow, despite the vertical terrain and enemy fire, several humans had reached positions where they could engage the hegemony forces from unexpected angles. The tactical display showed chaos. Red icons representing enemy forces began moving erratically as coordinated fire came from multiple positions along the canyon walls. The humans had somehow achieved what every military textbook declared impossible. They had gained tactical surprise while conducting an assault against superior forces in a defensive position. Zextera watched Sergeant Chin rappel down a rope line while laying down suppressing fire with one hand. 30 meters below him, Private Mitchell was using climbing spikes as handholds to traverse a near-vertical rock face, her rifle slung across her back. Above them both, Rodriguez had somehow reached a position where he could provide sniper support for the assault teams below. It was tactically brilliant. It was logistically impossible. It was being executed by soldiers using equipment that was generations behind current galactic standards. And it was working. Eagle 6 Echo 7. Vasquez's voice was steady despite the obvious sound of combat in the background. We have visual on the primary target. Hegemony Command Post is located on the north face, Grid 77 Alpha 9er, requesting immediate fire mission. Zextera checked her artillery assets. Eagle 6, we have no fire support available. Long-range batteries are offline for maintenance. Another pause. When Vasquez responded, Zextara could hear automatic weapons fire and what sounded like human voices shouting tactical instructions. Copy that, Echo 7. We'll handle it manually. Handle it manually? Zextara's voice rose an octave. Captain, that position is defended by heavy plasma cannons and particle beam arrays. Manual assault will require. The communication link exploded with noise, gunfire, explosions, and human voices coordinating an attack that should have been suicide. Through the static, Zextara could hear fragments of conversation. Grenade out. Covering fire on the left flank. Rodriguez, can you get an angle on that gun emplacement? Moving up, moving up. The tactical display showed impossible movements. Human soldiers were advancing across open ground under direct fire from weapons that could vaporize them instantly. They moved in short, coordinated rushes, using terrain features that Zextara's computer insisted provided inadequate cover. And they were winning. One by one, the red icons representing hegemony positions began disappearing from the display. The humans weren't just attacking. They were systematically dismantling a prepared defensive position through sheer aggressive momentum. Private Mitchell appeared on one of the drone feeds, sprinting across a section of canyon floor where 3 different weapon systems had overlapping coverage. Superheated plasma bolts turned the ground around her into molten glass, but she reached cover and immediately began engaging enemy positions with her primitive kinetic rifle. Sergeant Chin coordinated a flanking maneuver that involved 2 humans climbing a near-vertical cliff face while under direct fire, reaching a position behind enemy lines, and engaging a heavy weapons emplacement from point-blank range. Rodriguez provided precision fire support from position that required him to hang from a rope anchor with one hand while operating a sniper rifle with the other. It was madness. It was tactically unsound. It was being executed by soldiers who should have been dead within the first 30 seconds of contact. Instead, they were winning. Echo 7, this is Eagle 6. Vasquez's voice cut through the static. Objective secured. Enemy command post is neutralized. We have approximately 40 hegemony prisoners and significant intelligence assets. Zextara stared at the tactical display, where the canyon that had been filled with red enemy icons now showed only green friendly positions. Eagle 6 confirmed. You have secured the objective. Affirmative. Moving to consolidate position and process prisoners. Lieutenant Korthak leaned over the display, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Commander, how is this possible? The humans engage a force 3 times their size in a prepared defensive position with inferior equipment. By every tactical calculation, they should have suffered complete casualties. Zextara pulled up the battle statistics on her secondary display. Human casualties. For wounded, none killed in action. Hegemony casualties. 67 confirmed dead. 43 prisoners. 90 fled the battlefield. The numbers made no sense. Lieutenant, patch me through to Captain Vasquez. I need to understand their methodology. The communication link crackled to life, and Vasquez's voice came through clearly. In the background, Zextara could hear human soldiers talking, laughing, and conducting post-battle procedures with what sounded like satisfaction rather than relief. Captain, I must ask, how did your forces achieve victory against such overwhelming odds? Commander, I'm not sure I understand the question. Zextara struggled to formulate her thoughts. Your tactical situation was impossible. Superior enemy forces, elevated defensive positions, advanced weaponry. Standard military doctrine would classify this as a no-win scenario. Ma'am, with respect, there's no such thing as a no-win scenario. There's just scenarios where you haven't found the right approach yet. Through the drone feeds, Zextara watched human soldiers moving to the captured canyon positions. They move with confident efficiency, securing equipment, tending wounded, both their own and enemy casualties, and organizing defensive positions as if they expected the hegemony to counterattack. Captain, your soldiers seem energized by combat. Is this typical for your species? Vasquez laughed, a sound that Zextara was beginning to recognize as distinctly human. Commander, where we come from, there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Combat is what we train for. It's what we're good at. When someone shoots at us, we shoot back harder. When they try to kill us, we try to kill them first. She paused, and Zextera could hear the sound of human voices organizing prisoner handling and casualty evacuation. But the main thing is, we don't leave people behind. When Rodriguez called for help back at the fire base, when Chun needed covering fire in the canyon, when Mitchell was pinned down by that heavy weapons position, we didn't calculate odds or analyze tactical probability. We just went and got our people. Zextera found herself studying the drone feeds with new appreciation. The humans weren't just aggressive fighters. They were pack hunters who became more dangerous when their pack was threatened. Captain, what are your intentions now? Well, Commander, we've got good intelligence on hegemony positions throughout the sector. The prisoners are talking, and we've captured their tactical database. I figure we can hit 3 more positions before they realize what's happening. The audacity of the statement left Zextera momentarily speechless. The humans had just completed an impossible assault against overwhelming odds, and they were already planning their next attack. Captain, your forces require rest, resupply, medical attention for the wounded. Ma'am, Rodriguez says the wounded are good to go. We've captured hegemony supplies and ammunition. And honestly, the troops are pretty motivated right now. When you're winning, you keep pushing forward. Through the external sensors, Zextera watched the human soldiers preparing to move out. They weren't consolidating position or waiting for reinforcements. They were preparing to continue their assault against an enemy that still outnumbered them significantly. They were hunting. Commander, Lieutenant Korthak said quietly, perhaps we should redirect additional GLF forces to support the human advance. Zextera considered the suggestion. Standard military doctrine would recommend exactly that: reinforce success, exploit breakthrough opportunities, maintain tactical momentum. But watching the humans prepare for their next assault, she realized that conventional reinforcement might actually be counterproductive. The humans weren't fighting a conventional battle. They were conducting a hunt, and like all effective predators, they worked best when they maintained the initiative. Negative, Lieutenant. We provide intelligence support and medical evacuation as needed, but we let the humans handle the tactical execution. She opened a direct channel to Captain Vasquez. Eagle 6, you have operational autonomy for continued pursuit. Echo 7 will provide intelligence updates and logistical support as available. Roger that, Commander. Eagle 6 moving to next objective. As Zextera watched the human soldiers disappear into the rocky terrain, moving toward their next impossible assault against overwhelming odds, she realized that she was witnessing something that would change galactic warfare forever. Most species fought when they had to. Humans fought because they wanted to, and that made all the difference. 48 hours after the initial assault on Firebase Echo 7, Zextera stood in the GLF Command Center staring at a tactical display that showed something unprecedented in the history of galactic warfare. A single human unit, 37 soldiers armed with primitive kinetic weapons, had destroyed 6 major hegemony installations, captured over 200 prisoners, and caused a complete collapse of enemy operations throughout the sector. They had done this not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through a combination of tactical aggression and what could only be described as predatory enthusiasm that violated every principle of military science. Commander, General Phrexnall's mental voice carried undertones of disbelief through the neural link. I have reviewed the tactical reports from your sector. The human unit designation Eagle 6 has achieved strategic objectives that we projected will require a full battalion with heavy armor support. Zextera nodded, her 4 eyes tracking the movement of human forces on the display. Even now, after 2 days of continuous combat, they were preparing to assault another hegemony position. General, I believe we need to fundamentally reconsider our understanding of human military capability. Explain. Zextera activated the holographic projector, displaying the battle records from the past 48 hours. Sir, observe the pattern of human tactical behavior. When engaged by superior forces, they advance. When taking casualties, they become more aggressive. When facing impossible odds, they attempt more audacious maneuvers. The hologram showed the canyon assault in detail. Humans climbing vertical rock faces under direct fire, engaging heavy weapons positions with small arms, coordinating complex maneuvers through nothing but primitive radio communication. It is as if, Zextera continued, the presence of danger acts as a combat stimulant for their species. The more desperate the situation becomes, the more effective they become as soldiers. General Threxnall's response carried undertones of deep contemplation. Continue. General, I have been studying their cultural database. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They would chase prey across vast distances until the target collapsed from exhaustion. But more significantly, they evolved as pack hunters who would sacrifice individual safety for group survival. Zextera manipulated the holographic display to show the fire-based battle. Watch this sequence. When Private Mitchell was pinned down by enemy fire, 3 other humans immediately abandoned covered positions to provide assistance. They exposed themselves to certain death to save a single squad member. The hologram showed the rescue in detail. Sergeant Chin sprinting across open ground, Rodriguez providing covering fire from exposed position, Captain Vasquez coordinating extraction while wounded herself. This behavior pattern repeats throughout every engagement. Humans do not calculate tactical probability the way other species do. When they perceive a pack member in danger, they respond with immediate aggression regardless of personal risk. General Threxnall paused before responding. Are you suggesting that humans are essentially biological weapons optimized for infantry combat? Sir, I am suggesting that humans represent something unprecedented in galactic military history. They are a species that becomes more dangerous as circumstances become more desperate. The communication link crackled, and Captain Vasquez's voice joined the conversation. Echo 7, this is Eagle 6. We've got visual on the primary hegemony command center, requesting permission to engage. Zextera consulted her tactical display. The target was a heavily fortified installation with 3 times the defensive capability of any position the humans had previously assaulted. It was defended by over 400 hegemony troops with advanced weapon systems and orbital fire support. Eagle 6 negative. Target exceeds tactical parameters. Recommend withdrawal to friendly lines for reinforcement. The pause that followed was becoming familiar to Zextera. When humans paused during tactical communications, it usually meant they were about to attempt something impossible. Echo 7. We've been studying their defensive layout. Chun thinks he can get a team through their sense of perimeter. Mitchell has identified weaknesses in their power grid. Rodriguez has a clear line of sight on their communication array. Captain, Zextera said carefully, you are outnumbered 12-1 by forces with superior equipment and prepared positions. Ma'am, that just means they got more to lose than we do. The simple confidence in Vasquez's voice crystallized everything Zextera had been struggling to understand. Humans didn't see overwhelming odds as an obstacle to victory. They saw them as an opportunity for more decisive victory. General, she said, addressing Threxnall through the neural link while keeping the communication channel open, I recommend we observe this engagement without interference. Commander, you would allow 37 soldiers to assault a major installation defended by 400 troops? Sir, I believe we are about to witness the definitive demonstration of human combat capability. Through the drone feeds, Zextera watched the humans prepare for their assault. They moved with the same confident efficiency she had observed throughout their previous engagements. But there was something else, an eagerness that became more pronounced as the odds became more impossible. Sergeant Chin gathered his squad leaders around a makeshift tactical display. Okay, people, this is a big one. Command center, communication hub, supply depot, and probably their sector headquarters all in one location. Private Mitchell studied the target through her rifle scope. Heavy defenses, multiple overlapping fields of fire, integrated sensor network. Standard approach would be suicide. Rodriguez nodded, checking his equipment. Good thing we don't do standard approaches. Captain Vasquez keyed her radio. All Eagle units. This is Eagle 6. We've been hunting these bastards for 2 days. Now we've got them cornered in their main base. What do you say we finish this? The response from the human soldiers was immediate and unanimous, a series of affirmative replies that carried undertones of anticipation rather than concern. Moving to assault positions, Chin reported. Breacher teams Alpha and Bravo execute on my mark. What followed was the most audacious military assault Zextera had ever witnessed. The humans didn't attempt to reduce the defensive perimeter through systematic bombardment. They didn't probe for weaknesses or wait for optimal conditions. They attacked simultaneously from 6 different directions, using tactics that should have been impossible with their limited numbers. Chun led a direct frontal assault on the main gate, drawing defensive fire, while Mitchell's team infiltrated to the facility's power distribution center. Rodriguez provided precision fire support from a position that required him to advance within range of the installation's automated defense systems. Captain Vasquez coordinated a helicopter assault using captured hegemony aircraft, landing directly on the facility's command center roof, while under fire from multiple anti-aircraft systems. The assault lasted exactly 18 minutes. When the smoke cleared, the hegemony's main command center was in human hands. Over 300 enemy soldiers had surrendered, and the remainder had fled the battlefield. Human casualties: 6 wounded, none killed in action. Echo 7, this is Eagle 6. Vasquez's voice carried a note of satisfaction. Objective secured. We have captured the Hegemony Sector Commander and complete tactical database for their operations throughout the Outer Rim. Zextera stared at the tactical display, where the red icon representing the enemy's most heavily defended position now showed green. Eagle 6 confirmed. You have secured the primary target. Affirmative. Prisoners are processed, intelligence assets are secured, and we're prepared for extraction or continued operations as directed. General Frexnall's mental voice carried undertones of profound revelation. Commander Zextera, what we have witnessed changes the strategic balance of this war. A single human unit has achieved in 48 hours what our projections indicated would require months of coordinated assault by multiple divisions. Through the drone feeds, Zextera watched the human soldiers securing the captured installation. They moved with professional efficiency, but there was something else in their movements, a satisfaction that went beyond mere mission accomplishment. They had hunted the most dangerous prey in the sector and brought it down. General, Zextera said, I believe we need to completely revise our tactical doctrine for human units. Explain. Sir, we have been deploying humans as conventional infantry, expecting them to follow standard military protocols. But they are not conventional soldiers. They are persistence hunters who have adapted pack hunting techniques to modern warfare. She manipulated the tactical display to show the complete operational sequence. Observe the pattern. They identify the most dangerous enemy position, pursue it aggressively, coordinate pack hunting tactics to isolate and overwhelm it, then immediately seek the next most dangerous target. The display showed the complete 48-hour operation as a single coordinated hunt. The humans had systematically eliminated every major hegemony position in the sector, not through strategic planning, but through predatory instinct. They do not fight to defend territory or achieve political objectives. Zextera continued. They fight to hunt down and eliminate threats to their pack. And the more dangerous the threat, the more aggressively they pursue it. Captain Vasquez's voice interrupted the tactical analysis. Echo 7. We're receiving intelligence reports of major hegemony reinforcements moving toward the sector. Estimated arrival in 12 hours. Zextera felt a familiar tightening in her chest. Hegemony reinforcements would vastly outnumber the GLF forces in the sector. Standard doctrine would be immediate withdrawal to defensible positions. Eagle 6, recommand.